Makes me sad to look at the old courthouse.
Too young to remember, aren't you?
I am.
Okay, this is from Board of Commissioners on October the 25th, 6th, 26th. I'm Darrell Banks, Commissioner, with fellow Commissioners Tony Vero and Cliff Mears. Jason Lawrence from our Parks Director, and our 2/3 of our board. And online we have Al Lawrence from the News Journal, Carl Hunnell from Richland Source, and I see we got Archie from WMFD. And we are here to start our budget hearings. And Parks Department is first up. So let's talk about your budget.
All right. Well, thank you. Again, as always, we appreciate the opportunity to be here, and we appreciate the support that we get from the commissioners for our budget out of the general fund. I have had the opportunity to meet with Commissioner Mears on occasions to talk over the budget. He is our representative. He attends our board meetings, so he's able to and available to ask questions. And I went over quite a bit of the budget with him as well. I know he also, being this is his first round at budgets, I told him, well, we'll try to make it easy on you and give you a sort of a easy intro here. Again, we always have a very small budget. It's pretty self-explanatory. We're asking for over what we had last year. Our estimated budget last year was around $250,000. We were asking for $263,000 this year.
Oh my gosh.
Everything over and above is primarily for operations and maintenance at our new Fleming Falls property. So you guys have questions?
Yeah, just curious. And again, yeah, this is minimal budget in the grand scheme of things, and a $40 million general fund, give or take. $263,000 is not the largest of requests, but every dollar counts as we get down to the last minute in December, as we know. So curious as to how fuel, obviously we have fuel costs. I'm curious though how the fuel and the audit and the property taxes came over to your budget this year, and it wasn't accounted for in prior budgets.
Property tax audit, we've never had an audit. Well, we have had an audit back in the 1980s. We've always done an audit through the county commissioners, through the county auditor, and it was determined through the state auditor that we now needed to have a state audit. That was never an issue in the past. We were always able to just file with the county auditor and everything was okay. Suddenly, a couple of years ago, the state auditor decided that we needed to have a state audit, and obviously that needs to be paid for. And I know there were discussions with our board, with the commissioners, do we need to pay for that? Because we already do that. But the county auditor always took care of that. But the state auditor said, no, we absolutely have to have an audit. So we don't know exactly what kind of audit that's going to be. So we put the high end number there, talking with the auditor. There are 3 different types of audits that you can have. They're not sure what kind of audit we're going to need. Are we going to need the very low end audit, which might cost a fraction of that? Because we've not had one in 40 years and everything looks in order with the financial statements that we've turned in so far, or will we need to do the full-blown audit? We just don't know. So we'll need to pay for that. And if we get...
How about the fuel?
The fuel, well, the property taxes too, I think we were just trying to put that over because ultimately we would want that to come out of the county. We've primarily always paid for that out of our Friends group, and we're just slowly trying to move things over to use the Friends money for emergencies and other things, and trying to look at general housekeeping to say what are things that we would think would generally be out of the general fund.
What do you pay in property tax?
That's what I'm trying to understand.
There's
Right.
four that we pay for Muskingum Watershed Conservancy. They're like $12 a year. And then there's one
The county.
property. Yeah, it's with the Watershed Conservancy. And then there's one other that we pay. I think it's $140 a year.
Have you looked into whether or not we can be exempt through that as well?
Yes, I talked with the auditor, and basically she said those were because they had to do with the Watershed Conservancy. So the Amy. Well,
I'm saying, have you checked with Muskingum? I mean, I don't know the conservancy laws with how that plays into county governments, but
in talking with the auditor and the folks in the auditor's office, they seemed to indicate that those were just things that had to be paid. I could look into that further.
$40, but I'm just curious.
I did look into that. There's no escaping it. They have a triumphant right of eminent domain and a triumphant right of taxation over public entities in the state.
Hear that a lot in the valley.
Fuel was simply we took the fuel line item out of the supplies line item. And unfortunately, the fuel consumption grew exponentially with the additional work that we've had on the B&O trail, as well as some of our other properties as we've gotten some additional staff members. And as we streamlined the way that we've done work on those properties, there was a lot of maintenance that didn't happen in the past simply because funding wasn't available. And once we had part-time workers and other folks to focus more on those properties as they need to be, we just found out that it took a lot more in fuel. And since fuel was such a large component of supply line item, we wanted to take it out and we wanted to separate it. Just
You do have a gasoline line item number though.
Oh, we do?
So,
Okay.
And
Well, and we're looking into potentially getting tanks that we can have on the property and work with that. One of our issues has always been too, that our closest gasoline source was the BP station in Lexington. And it's the one BP station in the county that's not under the county. So it's a separate entity unto itself. So we're looking at other ways that we can do to streamline.
those are the parks. Can you have like a solar power vehicle?
We do.
Did you have a green car?
We do actually have a battery powered electric, at least one vehicle. So
$140 for property taxes. Is that property taxes or is that the Muskingum tax?
that's probably, I think it's the Muskingum tax, but I'd have to verify it.
We need 3 new line items. We have a gasoline line item. So that
Where
could,
do people usually put the audit cost line item? That's what I was thinking. I was trying to remember.
the general fund pays for the general fund departments. The other, I'd have to look at some of the
I was
non-general.
gonna say, let's take a look and just,
But for me to request, if it's not true property tax, it might have to be named something else.
Okay.
So if you can
why
verify.
don't you get with the auditor as to how they best would want that accounted for?
Accounted for.
I know I have to pay a lease to Muskingum for property that I have, so it might be more considered a lease rather than a tax.
no, it's a assessment. You live in the certain watershed property in there that they have to pay. It was, you say it's 12?
There are 3 or 4 of them that we pay that it's $6 per half.
Yeah, it used to be 12. And a few years ago, Muskingum said, hey, we got enough money, and they lowered it to 6. And
Unfortunately, they're so low that we just pay them all at once and get them out of the way. So
on the fuel, are you considering that fuel is a third higher than what it was a year ago?
yes, and so we're trying to look at all of our mowing and trimming and decide exactly what we absolutely need to have done. The bike trail is just one of those areas that to keep it good and keep the edges down and everything. So we try to get as efficient with that as we can with the volunteers and the equipment to try to cut down on those costs as much as we can, deciding whether we need to actually mow some of the areas once a week, every other week, where do we really have to cut the line where it starts to get to a point where, and we sometimes have issues with, people are worried about things like ticks and stuff, which that really doesn't impact, but we're trying to keep everybody happy and they have a nice place to come and walk and hike and things of that nature. So.
The audit, I looked at that and I thought $4,000 is awful high for your small budget, but I understand you put it in there high, so maybe we can.
And the same thing with, a lot of the things we're talking about with Fleming Falls, without having it open like we have Gorman Nature Center yet because of budgeting concerns and lack of funding and lack of staff. We just really don't know until you're on the ground for a full year out there with buildings open and it open to the general public. It's hard to guesstimate exactly what you need. So in some of the cases, like for instance, wastewater, typical wastewater bill out there when it was being run as a camp was about $12,000 to $13,000 a year. So we tried to at least cut that in half to say we're not running this as a camp. But we don't really know for sure what it's going to take until we're out there for a year on the ground running the facility as we hope to run it. So my hope is a lot of those line items concerning the falls specifically will be much less than what we actually need. But I want to be prepared so that I don't have to come back later. I'd rather have a little cushion, give it back to you at the end of the year and say we over budgeted just to be safe as opposed to coming back and asking for more. So
Hopefully we can get that beautiful place opened up soon.
that is our plan.
It's beautiful.
I see in the personal service schedule, so a couple things.
Mhm.
Not have increases into the 2022 for the active employees. The 2021 request was for 3 full-time and 2 part. I do see you're seeking to add an employee, and that's why you guys have been very judicious and conservative with the per hour rates. So if you could expound upon that, please.
In terms of why we kept the rates that way.
Imagine you're keeping no increases, so you could add headcount. Is that
Yes. And also we were able to do that in part because the new employees that were coming in, including Larry Smith, isn't taking benefits. Jordan Tackett this year, as we added him on as full-time, he's not taking benefits the rest of this year, but we will add him on next year. When Amanda Kreiner left as well and went to part-time, she was not seeking benefits either. So
how many full-time people will you have?
next year we will have 3 full-time people, 2 at 40 hours a week and 1 at 35 hours a week.
Who's at 35?
35 will be Jordan.
So Jordan's at 35. Okay, you know 0 in your. I was trying to figure out.
2022, we have 35 at the end.
There it
of
is.
that.
Okay, yeah. So
Okay.
all right. So you have 3 full-time, and you're seeking to add a cleaning staff. That's your.
Yes, and if that's based on hopefully to find somebody that we can actually hire in, if not, we may ask to move those funds into contracts and services to potentially hire in the service on a at least minimal basis to keep things looking okay out there for the general public.
Okay.
And I apologize with, a lot of zeros on the 2020 and the 2021, just because we had a lot of people that Kyle Bailey went to the Crawford Park District. Amanda Kreiner went to a part-time position. I moved Karen Pryor up into a almost full-time position. So there was a lot of adding new people and moving around for people that weren't here last year.
Isn't Jordan related to Maryland? We got a ding. We got a we got to type who's hiring.
He's Marilyn's brother's son, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, who's hiring these people? That should have.
I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that at the time.
Hard to find good help, isn't it?
I know it is. It is.
Tough. We're hiring.
My wife used to work with, and she said very good things.
He's
Good. That's good.
He's a good kid, excluding who his aunt is. So you can't pick your family. I guess you can if it's through marriage.
Yeah.
So, okay, Jason, I don't have any more questions.
Nor do I. You've been very good manager of limited funds. But we got to find a way to get you some more money. You got to find a way to get more money in here.
Well, we are very hard working at the time to do what we can to get our strategic plan together for the future and look at all possibilities, including potentially a levy. But again, we need to make sure we've got all our ducks in a row and a comprehensive strategic plan for the park district. I know, people have talked a lot about, we want to get Fleming Falls open. And unfortunately, there have been a lot of things in the way from when we were first able to get in there to funding issues, restrictions through Clean Ohio, and obviously funding is a big issue with opening up a park. And I know it has a long history with the community, and I know everybody wants to get back in there, and we just want to ask everybody to be patient and bear with us, because when you do open up a park, whether it's brand new or whether you're doing, renovations, refurbishing, it takes a while to make sure that you have everything in order, that it's safe, that you're doing everything. I mean, I want it to be able to be something like Gorman, where people can come out and access it, as much as possible. But you have to have funding, you have to have staff, you have to have resources to do that correctly. And we want to make sure that we do it correctly. And we're trying to do some soft openings and some limited engagement type things to let folks know what we're doing out there. And we would like to invite the commissioners again to come out, hopefully sometime this fall still.
The last time we were at Fleming Falls, we may have been on the property when the federal fugitive was there.
True.
So
We want to make sure.
first
Want to make sure
going in cabins, taking a look at things.
we've
Holy,
got all those cabins
think about
up now, so he's got to crawl in a window.
we don't know if he was there when we were there, but they found him the very next day there.
So
Another
another reason for security and people on the ground. And that will be one of Jordan's primary roles starting when he started full-time October 14th. And next year is to be out there as much as he possibly can be with security, with maintenance, with upkeep, to have eyes on the ground out there as much as we can to keep moving forward, to try to get things open and let the public know what we're trying to move towards up. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And thank you to the board members for serving and helping manage our cast.
I do want to say my hats off to Jason for your patience and my endless questions, being my first budget pass with the Parks Department.
Problem.
I think after I attended your board meeting yesterday, I probably called you 3-4 times after.
I kept going. There's another call from Cliff.
But thank you for your time, your generosity, and your management skills.
Thank you.
Good you had to deal.
Our pleasure to work with. You always answer all our questions. Thank you to the board members who also serve. They truly serve. So again, thank you to all.
Thank you. And
Even though you went to OU.
I know. So.
He had a very mean
Problem.
middle school math teacher, by the way.
I did.
He did not like his middle school math.
Oh, I bet I know who it was.
Come on, I don't know this joke. What's this about?
Guy was not nice, and
His dad was,
it was my dad.
and I don't know that many Veros. So of course I had no idea for the first couple of years he was in there. And suddenly it dawned on me one day, he said something about where he was from. And cause you guys lived in Canton.
Yeah.
He would come all the way to the Fairless district. And it was like, huh? It's like,
Cass have graduated from the same school.
yeah.
Yeah, my dad was a high school varsity basketball coach for a while too. I was probably out there in
Probably were at some point.
It's Justice Middle School, wasn't it?
Justice Middle School. Yeah. Fairless actually made they actually co-won the conference this year for football.
Which is insane because they have like 5 winning records in the history of the school.
First time since 1979, they broke all sort of records. They only lost 1 game. And we used to definitely say when I was there, people came to see the band instead of the football.
That's true.
We had
a good baseball team.
Yes, you do. So
Griffiths, I think.
So if you have any additional questions throughout the process, as other folks come in, please feel free to get in touch with us. And
We got it.
all are on speed dial.
Yeah, you're on my speed dial.
Thank you all very much.
You might have questions from the media here on the parks.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any questions, Carl, Al?
Yeah, what is the status or plan, or do you have a date yet, Jason, for the opening to the general public of Fleming Falls?
I would like to say yes. I don't want to sound political, but we really don't. It hinges on a lot of different things. What we're trying to do right now is write up a narrative for folks who contact us, so that we can at least get groups to go out there. So be it a garden club, a church group, anybody that as staff and resources are available to us to be able to go out there and be able to lead some groups around. We're hoping to do some open house days, some additional open house days this fall and winter as well. Again, out there, our biggest concern is right now, we don't really have the funding or the budget for restroom facilities, trash removal, things of that nature, similar to what you would see out at Gorman Nature Center. So we just want to make sure that, we don't put the cart before the horse. We open the doors and say, hey, come on out. And we're not really ready to have, the general public out there. I'm just very leery of opening the floodgates and saying, hey, let's all come out here. It's going to be open and, without having a lot of regulation. So it'd be very difficult right now to do a dawn to dusk type thing like at Gorman. If it was just trails, I think it would be a different situation, but there are a lot of buildings out there, a lot of structures. We constantly have people going in there with ATVs, motorcycles. We even had street rods get in there at some point and go around that we caught on our security cameras. So we're very cognizant of theft, vandalism, and things of that nature. So budget's a big thing as well. I mean, if we had a levy, I probably within a year. If we don't, it's all going to depend on what kind of funding we get from the general fund, the commissioners, as well as additional funding sources that we might be able to get through grants and other things like that. So, long answer is we really don't know. But we're trying to do everything we can to at least get limited engagement out there, to get some open houses and things so the public can see what we are doing and letting them know that work is progressing. So, but it's really hard without a good budget in place and knowing what our day-to-day operations are going to be to set a timeline. I know Commissioner Mears had asked me that the other day about setting a timeline, and it's just difficult to do with having a lot of the variables that we have in place right now.
I might add a answer. Call now if you want. We're doing short openings. So
Yes.
You can call the Gorman Nature Center for a group. We're doing openings, soft openings in the meantime.
And we hope to accommodate as many people as we can. Again, I can't guarantee if we get 100 phone calls tomorrow or today when this might come out in the paper that we're going to be able to accommodate everyone. But
Because you'll be staffing with volunteers.
right, we'll be either using volunteers, and if volunteers aren't there, it's going to rely on staff members to be out there to coordinate the groups. And a lot of people too, we want to make sure people understand that it's not a camp anymore. We're working to make it a park. And so going out there, you're not going to necessarily be able to do all the things that you used to be able to do. Walk down and get very close to the falls. Now there's an observation deck above the falls. You can't necessarily rent a lot of facilities right now. We're trying to work out the logistics with that about how you could potentially rent a picnic shelter or something. And we just don't have everything in place. With using a lot of volunteers at the moment. We had a new volunteer coordinator that was set up once Deb McKee had moved out of that role. And we just found out Friday that she's moving out of town now. So now we don't have a volunteer coordinator for out there. So
Chasing away volunteer coordinators?
Rick's going to be free up here.
Yeah, Rick.
It's true.
You have some safety service training. Yeah. And Sue.
But in terms,
It's been out to
Oh, go ahead.
and in terms of a levy, Jason, are you thinking 2022, or do you have a year in mind yet? You considering asking for a parks only levy?
I would like to think hopefully sooner than later, but again, it's going to depend a lot upon our strategic plan. The commissioners might be able to speak better to that. Obviously, they would ultimately make that decision. If we ran it in 2022, we wouldn't get the funding until 2023. But again, we really need to make sure that we have everything in order with a comprehensive strategic plan. And we're working towards that right now because we know we'll get a lot of questions, and we want to be able to have everything laid out in terms of any budgetary considerations, staff, plans for future parks, so on and so forth. And we want to be able to say, we're not going to go out and ask the general public in Richland County for, levy money without being able to put a narrative forth that says this is exactly what we want to use it for. So I don't know do either one of you want to speak to a date, or
You covered it.
okay. So.
And I do want to say that, along the lines of a soft opening and in general, people being out there, that I think anybody that's been out there would recognize that is probably the finest piece of property, the most scenic land that we have in Richland County. It's just stunning. It's beautiful out there. A nice park.
Any other questions? Okay, well, we want to thank you, Jason, and the board for coming, and
Thank you, guys.
thank our volunteers too for us.
Absolutely.
Sure will.
Make sure you go add Rick and Steve's names to the volunteer list.
Yes, I will be. Him and Chuck.
Here, Cindy.
Pardon?
See ya. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, now you guys can come sit up front.
You guys have plenty of volunteers helping out.
Oh, we're always looking for more volunteers.
Good answer.
We're always looking.
Special events or something like that. 13 maybe.
Okay. We've worked with all manner of different groups, church groups, and Boy Scouts, and even getting the folks from the prison to come out and do work and things like that. But having been a volunteer coordinator in the past, I can tell you it's almost a full-time job, because when they're not there, somebody else has to pick it up or find a new person and coordinating events. I know we did an open house out at Fleming Falls in the late summer, and we did it online registration. We had 50 people there, and it took my entire staff. It took probably 10 volunteers just to coordinate that single day. And it's a lot of work. So
We got this couple groups, so if you need, for the event or something like that, maybe reach out.
well, again, you are retiring now.
Sue and Rick can move right on up here.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
See you, Jason.
3 minutes to get through our other. You want to blow through the
Sure,
other?
let's go through the other. Certify the record of proceedings for October the 21st.
So moved.
Approve gotta vote on that.
Thanks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Approve the requisition.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
And authorize engineering agreement with Schaefer, Johnston, and Lichtenwalder.
So moved.
Second,
That's for Day Springs paving project.
that's $28,000.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
And can we authorize COVID reimbursement to JFS? $44.61.
So moved.
Second,
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Okay, that's other.
I've got a question on that engineering for Dayspring. It's been a while since you've, discussed what that paving is. Why does it need an engineering design? What are you doing?
It's because CDBG funds are being used.
Okay. And what does that whole project involve? Just doing all the driveways and everything?
If the project has widening of the driveway, paving to the water treatment plant, paving the lower gravel parking area, providing storm sewer, and connecting downspouts from the south wing, as well as others needs in the grant application. And project originally estimated at $149,905, and CDBG is going to pay $100,000 of it.
And the rest coming from that capital improvement fund that they have there?
Well, it says they received $50,000 from CDBG, scaled back on the original project to a cost of $11,000. And the portion of the project that was dropped was enlarging and paving our upper gravel parking lot.
Okay, that's all I need on that. Thank you.
All right. 9:59. We have before us our EMA Director, Rick and Sue. And we're going to talk about your budget.
All right. Sounds good.
So we'll let you start off by telling us a little bit about it.
Get all in front of you there. See on the revenue there, with the revenue coming in, the 10,000 is from the LAPC that pays out part of my salary annually on that there. Reimbursement, disaster services, the MPG grant we get from the state, we got 67,580 back.
Which is a reduction, correct?
That is the reduction.
Any word on whether or not that's going to go back up?
No.
That's
The reason that it's reduced is because we haven't been able to claim all of it
Yeah.
in the last 3 years.
When the three in the office like that, we pretty much covered it through salaries, that type thing. We got to max was like 91,000,
Yep.
roughly 91,000 back. Then when we reduced the people there to down to two, that cut back what we could actually claim. So that's why after 3 years now, they reduced our amounts we're getting back.
So I was going to call you this morning and things got a little hectic. We're set to formally announce your replacement on Thursday at 2 p.m. Like to obviously invite the both of you to come.
Okay.
I want to make sure you note that on your calendar because we're going to say a nice little fairly well in the press release. Who knows, maybe Sue will stick around. We'll see. We'll see if the new director can sweet talk her a little bit, but at least for a little bit. You don't have to stay forever. But with that being said, then with the new director coming on board, so their first day will be Thursday, November 11th, which is actually a holiday. So first physical day, his first physical day will be Friday, November 12th. Is there any opportunity to get partial reimbursement for that additional body between now and the end of the year? Is it a yearly thing? Because we have to budget for his salary and then someone else's salary we're looking to bring on board.
Within the budget there, we've already, for next year, we had budgeted in, right? For that partial salary.
How about for the,
This year, you just
did.
submitted the last quarter in. It had to be in. We just
This
submitted
is for EMPG.
Yeah, EMPG.
can we submit a
What you're talking
revision or, yeah, I mean, can we get additional reimbursement for the remainder of the year for that person starting?
It's going on the next year's EMPG.
So we can't get any.
This is done.
Go to go back and claim partial for next.
Yeah,
for the
I
next
can-
quarter.
I
Some of
can-
that back.
Claim whoever's salary for the next EMPG, which starts just October 1st.
Okay, so I need to get with you then on the salary so we can adjust accordingly for the budget, or I can even have Stacy. We'll get with, that's something I wanted to understand for next year as we go into that.
Yeah, this year it ended September 30th.
Right.
Okay.
It's the physical year. For that, so starts in October. So, okay.
Okay.
I think all that. As you can see down there, expenses, the salaries, dental insurance, Medicare, and all that's pretty well set. It is what it is on that. Supplies, we went through what we've used the last 3, 4, 5 years and kind of, went through that and see what we spent, what we needed, this type of thing. That's why we come up with those figures on the supplies, the uniforms. We've had,
Sorry, go ahead.
so on the uniforms, we've had a yearly allotment of $500 on that. So when the new person comes in, they can buy the uniforms, obviously, with that. Equipment, we broke it down. For like auto repair, miscellaneous, any repairs needed on that. The VAZU, we have the annual siren testing, 43 sites.
contract, $2,500. My understanding is that'll be the same for next year. Sirens, batteries, things like that. There's a $4,000 budget for repairs of that. When they go out and check these sirens, that we'll find out if we need batteries, whatever, and or when we get calls, siren didn't work, we send them out to find out why they didn't work, and then any needed equipment or supplies on that.
How often do the Vasu 43 sirens? Because that's a significant.
That's once a year. They go out and check 43 of them.
Okay, but you have $172,000.
Coming down to that one,
Okay.
the $172,000. When the county switched over to the MARC system, the obvious thing was going to do away with the VHF system. They talked about it, years back doing that because we didn't need it anymore. And at that time, it was also noted that the sirens operate on the VHF system. Radio at each siren. So from the 911 dispatch, they send out the tone to that siren. It goes to the radio, sets the siren off that way. So with the MARC system coming on board, we knew we were going to have to switch those over. At that time, there wasn't really anything out there enable us to go to MARCs on the tornado sirens. Not only Richland County, but every county that has those sirens, the MARCs going to have to do the same thing. So Vasu has been working with the company on developing something to set these things off on the MARC system. And just within the past couple of weeks, I've got a ballpark figure of $4,000 per siren. And talking with Vasu past, I didn't think it was going to be that much. They was looking at a paging system instead of a radio, but that they come up with the $4,000, and I told him, man, it's a lot more than we were talking about originally. I understand they didn't have the system yet, but so they are working with the company to see what they can do to help reduce some of the cost on it. But as it stands right now, that's a ballpark figure. The $4,000 per siren, $172,000 to replace all of those. With that system, we have these sirens are set up in zones, the north, central, and south. I was talking to Captain Sweat one day about some matters, and he brought up that we're switching over to MARCs and all that. Able to do something money-wise. The Scenic Tower has a VHF system on it.
Scenic describing a road, right?
Scenic Tower, yeah, the tower on Scenic Road. Yeah. And it has the VHF system on it, which is used to set off the tornado sirens there. So that's the only thing it's being used for right now, and they are paying rent for that. So if we could do away with that system, that tower, I think Jim said it was like $3,000 a month that they're paying rent.
That's correct.
Tower. So if we could at least do the central zone for the tornado sirens and switch them over to MARCs, we could probably do away with the Scenic Tower altogether. And pay the $3,000. In turn, that money may be able to go towards switch them over to MARCs.
And I've talked to Captain Sweat, and he says they can do that because we're paying $3,000 a month. Instead of paying it on that, we'll be paying $3,000 for the conversion switch.
Do they pay for that in the general fund though, Stacy?
I'd have to look.
Yeah, I don't know where it comes out of their fund. I don't know. If we could.
Money's money, but it does matter. I mean, another thing is that's something that could be moved to capital projects as well. Both outside the general fund, recoupment of the monies. That's something to keep a note on as we get through. But my instincts in knowing their budget, I don't think they pay for that out of the general fund. I mean, money's money, but something to keep in mind.
I said, if we could do the central zone first, maybe go
Right.
with the tower,
That frees up that money.
but plan ahead and do the north and the south at different time. So
Okay.
different year or something like that, kind of budgeted in. So
Captain Sweat said it wouldn't be any problem doing both, setting it off with both.
And that's the central zone tower
Wow.
that we can do away with. I want to make sure I note it properly.
It's Scenic Drive Tower,
Scenic Drive
which
Tower.
is in the central zone. And what 911 will do, and if there's a tornado, they will send it out VHS and marks.
Right.
And reason we want to, we don't want to keep VHS system because it's failing. It's
End of
on us is only going to go for a few more years.
maybe a way to kind of stretch out the budget a little bit and go through that. So. All right. I've got her to a Marks radio for the EOC radio. We currently don't own a Marks radio within the EOC, and we do have that little radio room within the EOC there. I'd like to maybe purchase one for next year. Communication in there with Marks like that. Moving on down to the contract services. The copier, the Verizon, the cell phone, the air cards for the tablet. We do an annual update for the mitigation plan. We just renew or plan last year, but within requirements, they are looking, the federal government is looking that you yearly look at that plan, involve your county partners to see if there's been any updates or that type of thing of what's going on. What you're doing with the Clear Fork like that, we always include that information in there to help with the flooding issue there. So that's always included. We use a contractor for that and sets up all the meetings, that type of thing. The Eop Resource Manual, again, we'd like to get that updated. That is really out of date. You got to dig through stuff to kind of find it. So we like to kind of have a contractor come in and help us update that resource manual. That's any resource you can think of you might need, whether it be a state agency, a local agency, a township agency, whatever like that. We have to try to have all those listed, get a backhoe or that type of thing, resources. The CERT accident insurance, that's for our volunteer CERT team. We've had that the last 4 years. Director vehicle, that's shared with the LAPC by month. Down to 2. Of course, we didn't need 2 vehicles. So with my vehicle there, what we've done with the LAPC, because they do pay part of my annual salary, is every other month, LAPC pays for oil, gas, any repairs like that. Then the next month, the EMA picks it up. So we just go back and forth. They do also help out with that. So. The non-contract services, Sam's Club membership, EMAO. See, we have the Castro and carpets down there, carpet and paint for the director's office. As far as I know, been painted probably since the original, and the carpet's original when they moved into the building. So I stuck it in there to help update that.
Castro and carpet still in business?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's who.
Oh, yeah. They do.
Not the one on 4th Street?
Mhm.
But they have closed. Okay.
They're very popular.
Ohio Fire Chiefs membership, the Marks radios, that's the cost for us to operate the Marks radios. I have 2 in my car, portable and a mobile, another portable. The weather tap, the access to National Weather Service, that helps on our storm ready status. Gives us another means of bringing up the current weather and real-time data for the weather. Training, any various classes that we hold, that's like the ICF 300, 400 classes we've held in the past, where we provide drinks and refreshments for in the morning, which we just redid that 3-year plan yesterday, as a matter of fact, and we're planning on classes each year. Some disaster management type classes, some PIO classes, the EOC operation classes. So hopefully those will get approved by the state. The travel, out of town expenses, sector meetings. We do attend the Northeast sector, the North Central sector, and the South sector EMAO meetings, where the county directors get together, share information, any things that's going on with their counties and how they impact us and or vice versa. So speaking engagements, With our storm ready, we're required to do an annual visit to the National Weather Service. Now, they just moved into their new place. It's a suburb of Cleveland. They left the airport and they're not actually doing visits just yet, but within next year they will be. So they'll be doing those visits again. So it is just the health and dental, and our total requested budget is $3,851.38.
Just real quick, when is your official last day with the auditor's office?
December 31st.
Okay. So just something so I understand. So what's the health carrier expense for your insurance? On the last expense.
Yeah.
That's the last paycheck that comes in January. So the December.
It's a split.
To carry over. Okay. That's what I thought. Okay. I don't have anything for you.
I'm good.
The new directors and assistant, health share of the county, that based on single family.
Family.
Family, the higher one. Yeah. We didn't know.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions from us?
Yeah, my sound kind of glitched out, Rick. What's the total budget for 2022, the budget ask?
It is $310,851.38.
And what was it last year? What was approved for last year or the current year that we're in?
$165,069.68. And the biggest reason for that big jump is that 172,000 switch over the tornado sirens from VHF to the MARC system.
But we recouped that in taking the scenic tower out of commission, Carl. And then some over time.
Yeah, we may pay, we'll pay for the 172 possibly over 3 years. Or we might do it much sooner. We don't know, but the 3,000 will bring that down one way or the other.
It's just to double check because the sound kind of glitches in and out. Total budget for this year, 2021 was 365 and request for 2022 is 310.
No, 165 in 2021.
Okay. Very good. That's what I needed. Thank you.
Archie, you got any questions? To Archie, I want to talk to you outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
What time was that on next? 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock Thursday. We'd like to have both of you here.
Good.
It is. It is 10:30 and we are back in session. We've been joined by Captain Bunk and also by Rachel Troyer, and we're going to talk about the RPF for medical services
Correct.
in the jail.
Yes, we did not receive any RFPs, any proposals. So I did not bring a letter expecting this, but I am asking to advertise for our medical services again. I'm almost positive I can get the legal notice in on Friday. And then we're going to do some reaching out to different companies to see exactly what's going on and if they're interested in submitting a proposal. We still have enough time on this contract. We did extend it through December 31st with I just had a bird hit the window.
Just flew out.
Anyway.
Yeah, they did.
Anyway, so we do have enough time on this contract that we should be able to award it and get a new company prepared for January 1st start date.
New company could be the company that we have. Right?
It could be,
Could be.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Looking at 60 days.
So we're not at the concern level yet. Please nod your head and say no. Okay, good.
No.
I need to hear.
If we did have to extend it, I really do feel that, yeah, we could get it done as well, but we're aiming at, completing the whole process.
You know, captain's been coming up here of late. It's the concerned, wallet out situation. So I just needed to know which side to put the wallet on.
Is he the new?
Yeah.
There's only one, Jeff, but now Chuck's catching up.
That's true.
So now Blanc might be also catching up. And,
Maybe.
And the Hydro wallet list, it's Chuck, Blanc, and Sweat. That kind of goes.
At least my name's not on
And
the
I'm probably
list.
the cause of Chuck's.
Yeah, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I see a
I
lot
could
of that
probably-
facility, dude.
Blanc, and I'm like, crap.
Yeah.
You and CAC. I think you have the
I'm
most
sure we-
facility,
we
dude.
take-
And he's a Steelers fan, which is ludicrous.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, well, get ready to get.
Moved to Pennsylvania.
I mean, the Browns are missing their whole team, and what are the Browns going to crush you guys by on Sunday?
Oh, probably 20.
Okay.
We need a motion to advertise.
Motion.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
All right, Carl has some general
Well,
budget.
since we're talking about this particular issue, who is the current contract with, and are they not submitted a proposal for a new one, or?
The current provider that we're with is Advanced Correctional Healthcare. And we, I don't know how to,
We are not sure why a proposal was not submitted. So we have to actually go back, and it's not just our current vendor. We're looking at other vendors as well of why they did not submit a proposal.
Yeah.
And they don't have to tell us anything. They could just.
Yeah, Carl, this is news to me that our current provider didn't submit, so.
Hey, Carl, you got an awful lot of background noise.
Because I didn't hit the mute button when they started talking, Mr. Banks. I'll try to do that. When did you advertise for the next contract?
You mean for the ones that proposals were due today?
Right. When did those advertisements go out?
I'm not sure of the exact date.
I mean, like a month ago, 3 months ago,
No,
ballpark.
it would have been several weeks ago.
3 maybe?
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago at the most.
And what's the county currently paying for medical services in the jail under the current contract with Advanced Professional Healthcare?
I don't have the numbers before me, Carl.
Okay, thank you.
We're looking.
We're looking, Carl. Hold on.
All right.
I don't want to give you a wrong number.
And as someone who struggles with math, I greatly appreciate that.
For 2021, $553,770 was budgeted.
Okay. That's what I needed to know about the jail. The other stuff is just kind of a couple of general budgeting questions, so I can wait on that.
Carl was busy doing his best, what was it, Larry King, Anderson Cooper, and moderating debates last night, so.
Yeah, I can't wait till we do county commissioners. I'm gonna change my whole tone of voice for you, Tony.
Well, Cliff's up next, so have fun.
Well, while we're talking about budgets, I'll go ahead and throw it out, and this is aimed at the commissioners. As you guys go through the process, you've set aside a little over $3 million in ARPA funding for revenue that was lost. Do you anticipate having to use any of that? How much would you be comfortable using? Or is that something that you're just gonna keep set aside at this point?
Well, that money can't come back into the general fund, as you know, so I presume you're asking in terms of money we might allot the general fund for that purpose?
Yes.
I don't think we've made that determination yet.
No, we haven't. We haven't decided.
And when do you anticipate getting through all of your budget sessions, and by law, when do you have to, is it by the end of the year, December 31st?
Well, we don't have to necessarily pass a budget by December 31st. That's been something
Thank you.
the current / new iteration of the board has tried to do, to be done with the budget, to pass a balanced budget, so our departments and offices can plan accordingly for next year.
And when will you be getting revenue estimates, do you think, for 2022?
The departments that submitted theirs, I gave to the auditor at the end of last week, and I have not asked him for a date yet.
And finally, one of the things Mr. Lawrence talked about from Parks is the possibility that they may wish to seek a levy for Parks only in 2022. Is that something commissioners would entertain, or what are your thoughts about a Parks levy ostensibly to help with the effort to get Fleming Falls open?
That is really up to the Parks Board commissioners. When he said commissioners, he didn't refer to us. He meant the 3 park commissioners. That's really their decision. I've been sitting in on their board meetings, and they're a ways away from determining whether they're going to make that decision and when yet.
Carl, that levy actually doesn't come through us.
Right. Doesn't come through us. That's their call.
We have no say in that particular levy as to whether or not it makes the ballot.
So commissioners for the parks do not have to approve levy requests to go on the ballot?
It is
No, commissioners,
The county commissioners don't.
not the right.
yeah, the park commissioners do, but not the county commission.
And that's also a 3 commissioner board.
It's a unique thing in the ORC. It's one of the few levies that wouldn't come through this board.
Yeah, I learned something new every day. I was not aware of that. Well, thank you.
It is Carl, it is one of the most beautiful places in Richland County. And I hope they figure out some way of getting it open to the public.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions, we will stand in recess. This is 10:39 right now, and we will be back at 11. We are 11 o'clock and we are back in session. We have been joined by Ken Estep from our Veteran Services and Sue, and Chairman of the board out there, Doug Faker. And would you please present your budget and explain what and let us know how
I'm
you.
going to refer it over to Sue since she's actually was the primary, between her and I, we worked on it together, but she'll know the numbers a lot better than I will.
Okay.
Do you want us to go over everything or just highlight a couple of?
Yeah, just
Just highlight it.
it's a mature
Just looking
budget,
at it,
get a
it's-
mill. You guys spend it very wisely, so there isn't anything that jumps out to us. So,
I got most of them. I got all marked up with notes, but this one's clean.
right.
Thank you.
I think the biggest thing that, we were worried about was our cemetery plots. Sue's going to give you an update on that to let you know where we're at. They did finally get all the footers poured this week, last week. So all of those are in the ground and taken care of now. We're still waiting for a final bill from Purdy Construction.
Yeah.
And when you see that check, don't get surprised, but we have enough funds to take care of that. But I'm sure it's going to be higher than we've ever written a check in quite some time, other than our vans we bought a couple of years ago. So just understand what is well within our. So
I just.
I'm gonna get any gruff from us.
I know.
So I had a question, and I can't believe the commissioner is going to say this on the record, but I actually was happy to see an increase in expenditure in relief allowance, right? Believe it or not, that's a good thing from where we sit, because that means that assistance is going out to veterans. My question was more just informational for this board and the media. Was there anything in particular you're seeing that would necessitate the increase, or, but I was very pleased to see it. I just was curious if there's anything behind that.
No, we've left the relief allowance at the 150,000, and we're seeing here this fall, we're getting more utility ones in, but it varies week by week by week. Whatever we've had people behind in mortgage and rent and that, and then the utilities, but nothing exorbitant really.
I guess that's good too, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys moved, in my review, the head count, you moved, is that in relation to you, Sue, by any way? Corey, Dell, Terry, I'm trying to.
Oh, she's my daughter-in-law.
Okay. I see she's full-time now, which is okay. I just wanted to check. But then as a counter, you're seeking to, it looks like you're not looking to fill the receptionist, because I know you had looked for.
She went from part-time to full-time.
Okay, so that's out.
Yeah.
Instead of having two, now we're down to one.
Okay.
That's actually a wash between what we was paying and what we are now. So.
Okay. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. But was there anything in particular with respect to your head count that we need to be aware of?
No, I'm curious, I guess, about where my staff's going at. I've had one staff member and I told Sue we need to, next year's budget, we need to make sure we put in that she may leave us. She'll have her 10 years, and of course she'll be fully vested under our retirement system. And I just think she's gonna maybe leave us next year, but
This Sue?
no. One of my service officers.
Okay.
And so she's had some changes in her life and stuff like that. So I think, you always want us to know, if anybody's going to leave. And I think that might be a possibility.
So one of the things, and I always speak of the current board, including Marilyn, and maybe Cliff would disagree, but one of the things it's not always, hey, let's be tight, is transition, right? If you're expecting new hire, we've felt that that's an expense we've been willing to accept, to say, hey, you need to bring someone on if you can. Obviously, someone gives 2-week notice, that's different than a retirement, but it's good business in running a government or business where you bring someone in before the retiree leaves. So there's a transition period. So if you need to adjust for that, when next year's budget come around, feel free to do that. Absolutely. I mean, we've done it with our EMA director, potentially our maintenance superintendent, right?
One thing on the personal service schedule, 2 drivers, 20 hours.
Yeah.
Not 40.
Yes. And then the other people are 40 hours a week instead of 80. That was my error.
You'd like to have an update on
You were thinking pay period. and-
Yeah.
Well, it's easy to just write down pay.
Maybe a long week.
Well, might as well be in the restaurant business.
I printed up a new one if you want the
I know.
accurate.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I always save it and go back and look. So thank you.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking, like you said, pay periods instead of
I assume that.
per week.
I honestly don't have any more questions. It's a good budget. It's a mature budget. You guys do a good job. Know where your dollars and cents are. I don't have any more questions.
I'm good with
You
it.
want to know anything about these new cemeteries and what Stu has got planned for?
Absolutely.
Love to hear it. What I've seen looks beautiful. So
Yeah, isn't it gorgeous? Oh, I'm so excited about it. We've still got some stones to pay for. Overall, we will have put in 138 headstones in there. So it's a little bit more. We replaced some old, like Spanish American and that they were starting to crumble and that. So this way we've got uniform all across there. So, but we're in good shape with that. On next year, year 5 of our 7-year plan to buy the rest of the hill up there. So be the other side of the hill. And then there's a little spot over on the side that we're projecting and hoping to put columbariums in there, like they have up at Ohio Western Reserve.
And at Lexington, Troy Lexington Cemetery.
Yeah. Yeah.
So some of that things we, you can see our budget is more long-term than it is
Yeah.
today. So,
Yeah.
I think we've done a good, responsible job on it. We're trying to keep our staff we have with our salaries to be competitive.
And we're in the process of wage scales. It's going to take us a couple more years. We've undergone our wage scales and now we're bringing 4 other elected offices. So something to keep in mind over the next couple of years. If you guys feel or want to jump in line, you're more than welcome to.
I did have a question on the electronic signs. Where we at with that?
So we got the quote and we had a couple questions and it's back at the vendor and they're taking a look at it and they're supposed to get it back to us in the next couple of weeks. But I don't think they're not going to be electronic outside,
Okay.
but they're going to be tenant panel listings and we're close.
Couple other things may I throw out
Sure.
too. Number one, this is for information only, the Joint Veterans Council, which are meeting tonight, we are going to go through with the Veterans Day Parade. So that will take place on obviously November the 11th and a ceremony here at the square. Hopefully the snow will not be up to our elbows. The other thing that, again, very sensitive, very concerned about, we know that you're doing a study about the homeless situation and like we do it on the square. Just a reminder that we do have homeless veterans in Richland County, and we need to be cognizant of that and aware of that. Now, as far as what can be done and what we're going to do, well, again, that's like you people with these people here, that's down the road. But we want to keep that thought in mind and present with Kenny went to a situation here recently, which he can speak to, and there were none, but we do know, none meaning non-veterans, that we do know that at La Guinta, 71 and 13, that they do house some homeless veterans.
I think they're up to 18 right now. That's through some federal grants. A lot of them's coming out of Morrill County because they got a grant through Salvation Army to pay for those rooms and stuff like that. So, but we do actually have veterans that does not have housings. One veteran's in the house in my office this week. His wife is in stage 4 cancer, and they're having a heck of a time getting housing for them. And I suggested to them that they go to the land bank and find out if they have any houses that they get rehab. because they're limited on income with their expenses and stuff like that. So at least I gave them that information. They were supposed to go check with them and find out if they may have a house.
We have about 18 veterans out at the Day Spring.
Yes, we do.
I think they've got room for a few more.
Yes, and we'll take care of them at Christmas like we did last year. So we'll make sure that they get gift cards from our office for sure. And normally we adopt one or two of them in our own office. So we will also do that again this year. Last year it went fast because everybody in the county jumped on, and it was much faster last year, which was a good thing.
Yeah. It's a complex issue. There's been a lot of conversations. The good thing is a lot of people are working to address the issue. The bad thing is there's a lot of people working to address the issue. So there's a lot of moving parts, and understanding exactly what the issue is and how to get people the necessary help has been the biggest. I mean, we're getting word that there should be some additional housing coming online via some churches. And it is a very, very complex issue. And we've asked our social services team to look at some things, and it's just
one of our problems is too, is we, in order to go like they've done in Memphis and so many Oklahoma cities where they have tiny houses set up. Basically, they're the barns that they just put a restroom in them and a bed in the loft, insulated them. But the city of Mansfield would never go there because they have a square footage that they go by.
Well, the other issue is location. Where do you do it? That brings a different layer of items to look at. But there's been some positive momentum. And I think our social services team is going to come hopefully here with some potential solutions as well.
I think that's on the north end that they're talking about, correct?
Yeah, now that's, I honestly, that's a great thing if it can happen. But to me, that's a long-term solution. That is very costly. And it's not just the cost, it's like no different, right? It's not just the cost to build it, it's then the cost to run it.
Yes.
Right? So we'll see if that can happen.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Quite welcome. We appreciate what you do.
The media might have some questions for you guys.
No, the one thing I was going to ask was about the Veterans Day Parade, but Mr. Thaker already addressed that, so I'm golden.
Fantastic.
Al, you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Well, it is 11:13, and again, we thank you for what you do for our veterans.
Yes, thank you.
11:13, and we will stand adjourned.